Welcome to the What's Your Weird Story podcast.
Everyone has at least one good story.
And some of us have stories that are just to the left of normal.
We're interested in the ones that push the boundaries of what we can perceive.
Stories that defy explanations.
Stories with an air of mystery.
Stories we might not share
for fear of being thought of differently.
But don't worry, we're all friends here. So, what's your weird story?
Hello, Weirdsville. Welcome to the What's Your Weird Story podcast. Welcome to your weekly rendition of the weird. I'm your host, Barry Johnston, and with me, as always, my best counterpart in the world, Mr. Adam Beebe. How are you, sir?
Hello, Barry. I'm doing pretty good, man. I'll tell you, I'm better than last week because I can report. I know some people have asked and were curious, but I can report this. No moth spots, so no more bats. I haven't had a bat battle.
Fantastic.
In the past week, so we're good there. I think we've got that all sorted and taken care of. So yeah,
That's
man,
awesome.
Sleeping better. Not getting woken up during the night.
That's great.
So, I guess the universe has decided that I would not be a good Batman.
Damn it.
And has let me sleep. Well, because, poor Batman. Poor Batman without money.
Right.
Is just, a crazy homeless guy, basically.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely, man. It's funny. I saw somebody posted a meme somewhere of, and it was like like 2020, but it was some bats eating from a hummingbird feeder. Have you seen that?
No.
I don't know if you saw that. I should have sent it to you. It was pretty funny, but they're like 2020,
Yeah.
It's pretty funny, but
anything goes this year, man.
Exactly. Exactly. It's crazy, man. And so speaking of crazy, I got to tell you the story, man. So I had messaged you a couple of days ago. I said, man, I got this weird story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we had talked before about, sort of, hey, if anything weird happens in life, in our real life, then we should talk about it,
Yeah.
Well, this is a strange story, and it's somewhat tragic, but I wanted to tell it because I don't really know what to make of it. About a month ago, I had a good friend of mine who he lives in Tucson, Arizona, and I live in Oklahoma, just so everybody knows. But I get a text message from him saying that he's got a friend looking for a bass amp repair, right? Well, I know a lot of musicians and record a bunch and know a bunch of guys. So, I was like, let me look around a little bit and I'll get back to you. So I put some feelers out and I come up with somebody to take the amp to, so I texted him back. He's like, okay, great. 3-4 weeks go by and I get another message from him, from my friend in Tucson. He says, hey, that guy that I was looking for the amp repair, he was found dead in a lake in Oklahoma City. And so I'm thinking, wow, that's really weird.
Yeah.
Because that morning I had a couple of friends from Oklahoma City that had posted the same thing, and I didn't even know that the two are connected at all, and I'm like, wow, that's really tragic. And I knew that he was a musician because my friends that had posted, had sort of mentioned that, and I was really, wow. I was like, that's really sad. But when I got that text message, I'm thinking to myself, like, that's really an odd coincidence, right? That I don't know this guy. I probably should know him, but how odd is it that I get a message from a friend of mine from Arizona about a guy looking for an amp repair, right? So I'm really, my wheels are turning and I'm like, I reached out to my friend again from Tucson and I was like, how did you know him? I'm curious because at the time, my friend Dana, who's out in Tucson, he's a touring musician and engineer, and so I thought that at the time he reached out to me, I thought maybe he had a friend going through town that was on tour, but then I'm like, well, nobody's touring because it's COVID time, you know. And he goes, man, you know, I met him when I lived in Austin, and Dana, he was the front of house engineer at Emo's in Austin. And which was a big club down there. I believe they're closed now. But
really, well, everything's closed now. But yeah, Emo's was legendary in Austin. I mean, that was like the place forever.
Right.
You know, before Austin was huge, and Austin, that was the place that everybody knew.
Yep. Every indie band that was touring went through Emo's. You know, anybody that was anybody coming up went through Emo's. So. He goes, yeah, I met him down there. He played in a band called Shotzi. And I'm like, Shotzi? That's so I'm like, I texted him back. I said, I think I remember that band opening up for when I was with the Promise Ring. This is a long time ago, dude. And I don't even know why this sticks in my memory, but I remember we were down there for a South by Southwest in like 02 or 03. And a band called Shotzi opened up for us, and I remember them because they had a bunch of light brights on stage with the band name written, you know, in the lights, right? Nice. And I wrote that back to him. I said, "Did they have a bunch of light brights on stage?" And he wrote me back like the laughing emoji. He goes, "I don't know how you remember that, man." He's like, "Yeah, that's right, they did." And I was like, "Wow, that's so strange." But why? So why do I tell this story? Well, it's not odd that I should have known the guy, but it's just weird that like all of this led up to like this tragic story that, you know, I would have come into contact with the guy had I, you know, been at there. And I'm sure that I did meet him at one point in time. You know, I probably ran into him and I knew who he was. He sent me a picture of his band back then, and he did look very familiar to me. But it's just a weird story, man. It's just a strange coincidental story.
Yeah, man. It just shows you how our world is so oddly interconnected in such a tight way.
Yeah.
You know, so where that, you know, this guy who does this and all, you know, who knew this, and like paths that cross just ever so close together.
Right.
But never actually, you know, connect. But yet there you are, you know, it's like that. It's when you meet somebody you're like, who knows so many other people that you know from the same time in the same area. Yeah. And yet you don't know that person. It's really, it's a weird thing.
It is, man.
You know, but it's like, but it's also like, that's how, you know, but that's how the strings of the universe, I guess, are, is like, there's so many points where you can make connections, even if you don't have the personal connection at that point. And it's just so strange. It is strange.
It is.
You know, so
it really, and it really did. It made me think about a lot of things about, you know, how many people you come into contact with that, you know, aren't here anymore, and you just, you don't know it because you don't know them personally, you know, and it's, you know, from everything I hear, you know, his name was Monty Williams, and I want to say that, you know, he was a great guy from everything that I've heard from everyone that knows him. He knows some of the greatest people in the world. I know that because they're some of my best friends, and he was well loved, you know, it's tragic in that way. But I think that the thing that everyone can take away from it is that, you know, you just got to tell the people in your life how much you care for them, why you got them. Yeah. You know? Yep. But yeah, it was just a weird story, you know, and I don't want to make this about me at all, but it's just about how, you know, you could be connected oddly by something, and it sort of just it is what it is, you know. And this is one of those stories that unfortunately has a tragic ending. And so my heart and my love goes out to Monty Williams and his family, and to those that survive him.
Micah says, talks about finding the extraordinary in the ordinary.
Right.
How this, how there's so many things in that within our normal worldview that if you just take a step back and you look at it and you realize how actually extraordinary and how spectacular things like that are.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of one of those things that I think.
Absolutely. Well, getting on to the extraordinary, we have an extraordinary guest today.
Yes, we do.
And he's a friend of yours, and he comes from us from Japan.
Yes. Now, before we get started, Barry, James is our guest, and he has some weird stories. He has some kind of the spooky stories, but he also has some great fun stories about his travels because he's lived overseas in Japan for quite a few years. But we also our conversation started at one place and it just grew and organically it traveled the globe really as the stories did as well. So, but we do want to issue a potential trigger warning for violent bowel movements in one of the stories here. So if you find shit talk offensive,
yeah.
Once we get to India, you might want to, tune it out. That's all I'm going to say.
That's right. So. Oh, it's so great. Yeah. Let's get on to James. James, what's your weird story?
Thanks for having me on, man. Okay, well, let's just hop right into it. Yeah, it's about 8 o'clock in the morning here, so I'm not on my top performance, but I'll give you what I got.
What a way to start the day, man.
Exactly, man. I wish this had a little bit of something else in it, but yeah. So we were just talking earlier about I moved over here, about 18, 19 years ago, but we just moved over to this place where I'm at right now. So I teach English and art here, got my own school set up, and we moved here when I say we, my wife and my daughter, at the time, 5 years ago, she'd just been born, and we moved in here, and next to us, like in Japan, man, there's like a ton, like the elder population here is really, really huge.
Uh-huh.
And when we moved in, it's like tradition to give a present to your neighbors.
Right.
So we went over to visit our neighbors. We had like some detergent or something like that. And we knocked on the door and nobody answered. And finally, we hear this old voice and this lady pops out. It's like a 90-year-old lady, and she's like, "Oh, hello, we're your new neighbors or what have you." And she's like, "Oh, it's really nice to meet you." We gave her the present. She's like, "Oh, there's another neighbor that lives over there, but I hate her guts." So okay,
okay, that's
so watch out for her.
Yeah.
Okay, that's weird. But no, we kind of like we she's a 90-year-old lady. There's not like a whole lot that we have in common, but we would do our best to like talk to her,
right.
And shoot the shit with her. And, we always felt really sorry for her because she lives by herself. And you see a lot of this over here. There's a lot of elderly people that they have this old house. They live there by themselves. A bunch of widows or elderly men whose wives have passed away, what have you. So we're always worried about her because it's this 94-year-old lady. She's always by herself.
Yeah.
But I would always get paranoid. Is she okay? If I don't see her for a while, do I need to go check up on her or what have you? But So my wife, her family, they live pretty close to us. They're like 20 minutes away. So she often takes like our daughter and they'll go stay the night with their family, what have you. And it just so happens one night, if it's okay for me to get into my story here.
Oh, yeah.
One night, her and my daughter, they go off to her family's house. And I'm at home by myself. And I was working on some artwork or doing something. And, around 12 o'clock, I just, decided to go hit the hay. And that night, man, I had like the craziest dream. Like I have crazy dreams, what have you. Us art guys, had a little too many fumes in the studio or what have you, and messes with our brains. But man, this dream was fucked. It was like I'm in this fuck. I'm getting like, I always get goosebumps telling this story, man. It's crazy. Just to lead off, I don't believe in ghosts.
Okay.
I don't believe in all this paranormal shit.
Okay.
I'm a very level-headed guy.
Yeah.
But now after this one, man, it fucked with me. So I had this crazy dream. I'm in this old Japanese house, and there's like this closet. The whole room is really, really dark. There's like a tint of crimson somewhere. And I hear this voice. It's like beckoning to me. It's like, it's basically saying, help me, help me. And I'm like, I'm walking over to there's this old Japanese style closet, it's made back in like the 100 years ago, what have you. Mm-hmm. And I go over there, I could hear it beckoning to me, asking me to come closer and closer. And finally I open up the door, the closet doors, and there's this woman in there. It's like a young, it's like a younger woman or what have you. And she's like, I need your cell phone. Give me your cell phone. Give me your cell phone. I'm like, I can't give it to you. She's pulling at my cell phone, and I'm pulling back. And I wake up, and I'm like, what the fuck was that? That was freaky. And I was like, all right, it was just a dream. I looked at my cell phone. It was like 2:15 or something like that. And I'm like, man, I'm just gonna go back to bed. And like when you're by yourself and you had a dream like that, you just pull the covers over your head.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
That was freaky. And then around 4:00, I wake up again, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? I hear sirens, and there's an ambulance. We have a big, huge hospital close to us, and there are ambulances coming by all the time. So I'm thinking it's just a normal ambulance. And the ambulance pulls up, and I'm like, dude, do not stop where we are. Do not stop. And it stops next to the house where that old lady is living. And, of course, I peek my head outside the window to see what's going on. And, sure enough, like the ambulance stops there, and they're there for a while. And I don't want to, invade on anybody's privacy, so I just kind of like, all right, go back to bed. It was nothing, so wake up the next morning, and I go outside to go check on the old lady because I'm, a bit worried because it was a very ominous dream.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And there are like 3 or 4 cars parked outside of her house, and I'm like, oh shit, this isn't good. And I go and I walk up towards them, and a whole bunch of people come out, and I say my, my greetings to them. Hello, good morning. And they're like, oh, we're the family members of the lady who lives here. I'm like, oh, is everything okay? They're like, no, man. Last night, I think it was around 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, she passed away. She died. And so I'm like, oh, holy shit.
Yeah. Whoa.
I like, even right now, I'm getting goosebumps from this, man, because it was definitely it had to have been, man. There's no way.
Right.
It was just a coincidence of this dream of an old house with this old lady. Give me your cell phone. Give me your cell phone. I need help.
Wow.
And
Wow. Damn, man.
I got him too.
Wow.
Dude, it was like to this day, like I still get goosebumps talking about that right now.
Wow.
But so she just ended up passing away in her sleep. I guess it was like 3 or 4 or what have you. But so after that, like the house is empty, and this is where the story, like that's a weird part of the story, but the story even gets weirder.
Oh no, it gets weirder.
Well, love it. So it's a really small lot.
Okay,
it's a really small lot, and this is kind of strange, but my wife and I were like, we really would like to buy that lot of land, and we want to build on it later. So we were always like, we talked to the landlord and everything, and the landlord's like, oh no, the place isn't up for sale. Like the family, they still own it. We're like, oh yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Uh-huh. And we were always talking to each other like, it'd be really nice if that house, if they decided to just take it down and then they put the land up for sale, that'd be really nice. And literally we're talking about this, and then the next day, I think it was about 7 or 8 in the morning, we're sleeping, and all of a sudden we hear a boom, and it's like an explosion. Like, what the fuck was that? It's just like, go check, because we live really close to the main road, and I go running outside, and there was a car. I don't know how it happened, but it basically went from the road 90 degrees into the house. It just rammed right into the house.
Whoa! Into the house, that you are wanting to purchase. Is that what you're saying? Okay. Wow.
Well, we were. The house is like 100 years old.
Oh,
they built it basically 100 years ago. It was worth nothing.
Okay.
So
just
we
the
wanted,
lot.
Yeah, we wanted the lot. And dude, the house was. The car had gone all the way into the living room.
Wow.
Knocked the fridge over. Missed the gas. Like a lot of places in Japan, they have their gas tanks outside.
Right.
And it missed it literally by like an inch.
Damn.
If they would have hit that gas tank, man, there would have been a huge explosion. So I go running in there and I pull the girl out of the car.
Yeah.
Because she's unconscious.
Wow.
So the family comes to see the damage, and of course the house is totaled. So within like a week, they have to bulldoze the house down.
Holy shit.
Tear it down. And then we end up, I guess it was a little bit of a gift from the old lady.
So that's so crazy, man. That's so crazy. That's a crazy way for a wish to be granted.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah, man. It was insane.
Wow.
What was the cause of how did the girl in the car, like, what happened there?
All right, it's so strange. Like, we live on, it's a really long straight road, and then right when it comes to our house, there's just a slight curve, very slight curve. So if you're looking on your cell phone or anything, or if you're not paying attention, you're just gonna keep on going straight. And then if you keep on going straight, you're gonna like hit a house. So a lot of people, they'll like jerk the wheel, and I think what happened, like we have a big drinking district. It's about 10 minutes down the road.
Okay.
And a lot of like the young people, they work out there. You know, there's a whole bunch of hostesses and host workers. And this one, I think she was one of those people. Like, she had a really late night shift and she was coming home.
Yep.
And obviously she just missed that curve and she just overcompensated for it, right? And literally, she went 90 degrees into the house. Like, it wasn't just like at an angle or anything. It's like, completely.
So the house is right off the street,
it's right
there,
off the street.
Wow,
yeah.
Wow, that's wild.
I drove into a house when I was 2 years old.
You weren't driving, were you?
No, I was driving.
He was driving. That was the problem.
Driving, yeah. I don't know if I've told this story on the show.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite stories, my world famous stories. I was 2 years old. We'll just go ahead. I'll go ahead and tell you this because it's fun. But like, I was 2 years old, okay, and it was a cold ass day in Oklahoma, and it had started to it had already like snowed and it was starting to ice, right? So like, this is when it starts to ice that's in our hometown.
Yeah.
When it gets so like an inch of ice on the road, they're like, okay, maybe we should cancel school and send people home.
Shut her down.
So my brother was in kindergarten and they canceled school, and my mom she was going to go pick him up. So she's warming up the car in our driveway, and she just pulled it at this big 1978 or something station wagon, probably 76 station wagon.
The real sweet one. Yeah, sweet
one. Deep hunter green with the speckly paint and the wood paneling, dude.
Yeah, we all had those.
Yeah.
Back in the days.
Yep.
Yeah. So she's got the car started, and when she's left the heat on, she's letting it warm up, and she runs it. Of course, there was no car seats back in this time, because this is 70s. Right. This is late 70s.
Yeah.
No car seats at all. So she's like, she forgets something. So she goes back inside and she tells me, and I remember all of this because this is deeply impactful. But she says to me, I gotta run back inside. Don't touch anything. And of course, obviously, I nod my head and yes. But as soon as she leaves, boom, I'm Batman.
Touch everything.
I'm doing.
Ooh, what's this lever? Ooh, what's this lever?
So I'm like, I get behind the wheel and I'm like, steering, just got my hands on it or whatever. I hit the stake into I knock it into reverse. It goes, down the driveway, across the road, which has got like like I said, it's like there's so much ice now on the road that there's really no curb. Down the driveway, across the road, avoiding, fortunately, small town, not a lot of traffic. Jump the curb, go into the yard, and into the house across the street.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
So
Holy cow, man.
Wow. So I was fine. My mom was freaking out. Late to pick my brother up.
Yeah.
So then a couple of days later, I remember, staring out the front glass door, looking across the street at the men repairing the hole in the house.
That you so beautifully made, man.
Yeah. My brother coming up to me and saying, "See, you see that? You did that."
You're an artist.
Give you a high five. Yeah, there you go.
That's awesome, man.
That's right.
You know what's funny is my sister did the same thing. She ran into the Loves there. The Loves?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in town. Same thing. My dad left her in the truck. Like, that's how shitty parenting was back then,
I'm so paranoid about that kind of stuff.
That's how good parenting was.
No, absolutely. I agree. I mean shitty in today's terms. You know what I'm saying? For the today folks.
How they have changed, man. I know when we were like growing up, if you were in a truck, you were in the back of the truck.
Oh, yeah.
Like with
Yeah.
If it was cold or if it was raining, they would just put a tarp over you.
Exactly. You're fine.
And that's how you drive around.
Stay low when we take the corner, Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy.
Hold on to like things.
Yeah. Dude, Adam's dad used to take us out on sleds, running behind the truck, and going fairly fast. I remember it could get wild,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Now,
definitely.
Now, Barry, in defense of my dad,
Yeah.
who was a good dad, not negligent in any way.
Absolutely not. Whereas my dad, he's pretty negligent.
He's not your dad. But, it probably seemed like crazy to us, but it was probably, maybe like 15 miles an hour at most.
Yeah.
And we're in a cow pasture, so it's not like we were going to get...
Right.
But that was a lot of fun.
It was fun, man. It was fun.
If you sit down and think about the things that our parents let us do, I don't know, do you guys have kids at all?
Yeah.
I don't. Probably for... reasons.
Oh, sorry. Well,
I've got three, man. I've got three.
Like, I think back to the things that I did when I was a kid. I was like, there's no way in hell that I'd even let my daughter even get close to doing any of that kind of stuff.
No.
Like, growing up in North Carolina, we had our, we've got, if you go into the inlets or you go to the ocean, we got all kinds of crazy creatures there, man. Like alligators, water moccasins, sharks, this and that.
Yep.
And when I was in like a junior high school or elementary school, we would go out swimming in this stuff. And then we'd always have like one of my friends, Tony, and I, he had like a little pier on the inlet. And we would just take a piece of chicken, wrap some string around it, throw it out into the water.
Perfect.
And wait for an alligator to come.
Oh my God, dude.
And pull it in, man.
Oh, yeah.
Got an alligator coming up to us. And then we get close and we're like, okay, let it go again. And this is what we did for fun.
Oh, man.
We didn't need video games, man. We had gators.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, I wouldn't let my kids do half the shit, man. I mean, we used to just go play forever and just be home at dark. That was the rule,
Yep.
Yeah. And I feel so fortunate that we were able to grow up that way, man. You know?
Man. Just to see what the next generation is going to be like with being this adventurous type.
Yeah.
Just like, throwing caution to the wind and going out and just getting a little crazy. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know for sure, like, I think it was like elementary school, 3rd grade. I had a paper route, and that was like my first job. Wow. And this kid I worked with, Thomas, geez, I can't remember. Thomas was his name. Every day after school, we would go deliver the evening paper. We got on our bikes. Yeah. And, I'd use the money to go out and buy like G.I. Joe comics,
of course,
or tapes or what have you.
Yep.
And we ended up like, we had this great idea. Hey, man, I got the new John Bon Jovi tape. let's go build a tent out in the forest and stay the night there and listen to John Bon Jovi. So that's a great idea.
Perfect, dude.
And so we did it. We went out and it started raining. We made a lean-to and we put some like leaves and stuff over it. We had like a little boom box. And we went and did this and decided that it was a great idea to not tell our parents that we were going to do that.
Of course.
I come home the next day and my mom is freaking out. Like, where the fuck were you? Oh, we just decided to go out and have a little camping trip.
Yeah.
Oh my God. We thought you were dead. I called the police and everything. Like,
yeah. And you're just being a kid, man. You're just exactly. Never crossed your mind.
That sounds like Barry. That sounds like something you would have done.
It does.
Actually.
It does, man. It does. I remember one night I came home. I was shit-faced the night before, man, and I threw up all over myself. I came home with vomit-covered clothes, and my mom never said anything to me about it, man. She should have busted me, man. But she was just like, "Oh my God, what happened to you?" I said, "I ate some bad hot dogs," and then I went and puked for like a day and a half. You know,
the reason they probably don't say anything is because they've gone through it as well.
Yeah,
you know,
and that's it, dude.
Yeah,
that's really.
I remember. That's
Yeah.
your rite of passage.
It is. Yeah, it's crazy because I'm going through it right now, man. My boys, they're older. They're 17 and 18, and they're stretching their legs a little bit, and testing the waters. And it's so weird, dude, because I was always like, I'm not going to be that hard on them. I say that to myself, but it's like, if you don't take a stance, like, I'm a very open-minded person, man, but when it comes to raising kids, the tactic has to be a little bit different, because they don't understand anything but the boundary,
Exactly. It's like, how long do you make that leash?
Right.
You don't want to make it too tight because then you're just, my dad was such a controlling freak.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you don't want to just like, okay, just run off.
Exactly.
Do what you want to do.
What I want is my kids to come back someday and say, at least my dad gave a shit.
Exactly. Yeah.
He might have not been perfect, but at least he fucking cared,
There's no way in hell that we're going to be perfect, but just showing them that you do care and that you're having interest in the way that they grew up and their education and raising them. They'll appreciate that.
So what's it like to raise a kid in Japan?
Okay, so
if I may, sir. Okay.
I've only got one kid that I know of, so I can teach you.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
So my daughter, of course, she's half Japanese, half white.
Okay.
So in Japan, they call them hafu.
Okay.
Hafu, which half.
Okay.
And I think right now she's not into. She goes to an English kindergarten.
Okay.
So they have foreigners who teach English there and what have you. But so she hasn't gotten into like the whole Japanese education system. Since I am the American in the family, my wife's Japanese, I kind of have to raise my daughter, show her the ropes with like American culture and American, society and history and what have you. So I was telling Adam, we were on lockdown. We weren't on lockdown. We were on voluntary lockdown here. Our governments, each city government had the option of enforcing their own lockdown rules here.
Uh-huh.
And our city said, hey, it's voluntary. If you want to do it, you do it. If you don't want to, you don't have to. And so 1 month I took off work, and every single day we had like movie night. So I was showing my daughter, she's 5 years old. I was showing her like Star Wars, Batman, Spider-Man, Goonies. Dude, she's like completely into it 100%. So like now we got like matching Batman T-shirts.
Wow,
she's always asking me to put like Star Wars music on and stuff.
That's
so
awesome.
It's been really fun. Yeah, introducing that kind of the entertainment culture to her.
Right.
And, just really watch her like really get into it. So So it's like we were talking earlier, like Adam, while you were out, that once she gets into elementary school, it's going to be a different kind of environment. when that comes around, I think I'm really going to experience what it's like to raise a child in Japan.
Yeah.
Right now we're still in like the kindergarten thing.
Yeah. That's great though, man. That's awesome. I mean, that is it's a unique experience. Not that many people, unless you've traveled abroad, traveling is one thing, but living there is a different thing, especially raising a child, having a family, you gotta kind of play the rules, and
man, I'm the link between these two worlds, and trying to keep. It's funny, like sometimes she'll wake up in the morning and she'll be packing her like little bag, and we're like, well, what are you doing? She's like, I'm gonna go to America today. We're like, oh, okay.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man.
All right.
That's so cute.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Did she how far does she think? How far away does she think America is? I mean, does she
obviously a car ride
across the street? Right.
I guess, yeah. She's 5, right? So that is.
But it's crazy. Like she's only 5, but already she's traveled to the States 3 times.
Yeah.
And what was it? 2 years ago, she went to Thailand. I took a couple of Japanese guys to go watch the Seattle Mariners.
Yeah.
I took to Seattle, and while I was taking them to Seattle, my wife and her younger sister and my daughter, they went to Thailand together.
Oh.
So she's already 5, but she's been like freaking all over the world.
Wow.
I didn't even hop into the airplane until I was like 19 years old.
That's amazing.
And I was, speaking of which, man, this is like a crazy little story. You remember Professor Elbeck, of course?
Yeah.
Mr. Elbeck? Okay, so I was 19. I was the first time I was in a plane. First time going, like, traveling anywhere. And I took a bus up to Chicago because that's where my brother was at. And I hadn't taken any printmaking courses. I was still in my second year of college, so I was still in, like, what was it called? The foundations. And I have to fly to Osaka from Chicago, like O'Hare International, which is a huge airport. It's fucking insane.
Yeah.
They got like trams and everything going all over the place.
Yep.
And I get to the airport there. I'm like, I have no idea. I've got my ticket in my hand. I'm like, have no fucking idea what I'm supposed to be doing. And all these trains are going past me. I'm just like, okay, just hop into one and see what happens. So I hop in it, and I'm just kind of like looking around. I'm just going to go to the back, hold on to those bars, and just look down at my feet, and hopefully I get to where I got to go. And I look up right in front of me, and there's this guy standing there, and he's got like he's kind of balding up here, and he's got like earring. And I look at him like, dude, I'm like, are you a professor at East Carolina University? He's like, yeah. I'm like, are you Mr. Elbeck? He's like, yeah, that's me. I'm like, I'm James Harris. I study at ECU. He's like, I know your name. I'm like, you know what? He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm off to Japan. I'm going to go study there for a year. When I come back, I want to take one of your printmaking courses. He's like, yeah, we'll be waiting for you. And sure enough, come back, and the first thing I'm doing is Mr. Elbeck's printmaking course.
That's
those
wild.
Printmaking courses changed my whole experience at university.
Well,
Wow.
Well, James, part of the changing your whole experience at the university, because was part of it that you actually lived in the printmaking room?
Yes.
And Barry,
that's amazing. That's amazing.
And everybody at home, when I say that he lived there, I mean that
literally,
almost quite literally, because James had a cot that he had, a fold-out cot, army-style cot, not a comfortable cot. He had it stashed in his little area there in our lithography studio that he would spend the night and work all night on his prints and stuff. And by the way, I still have this. I still have a print that was a mistake, quote unquote. That James made that he was just going to cast off and throw away.
Dude.
And it was, and it's like, definitely influenced from your time in Japan, because it's like very stylistic like that. And I think it's a Japanese, some character from their, I don't know, literature, culture, something like that. But I think it's like a warrior or something.
Yeah, I know the print that you're talking about.
It like literally had 2 colors. One was just slightly misaligned, so it has this little bit off, like kind of a ghosty image of her stuff. And it was just so cool that I kept it. I pulled it out of the trash and I kept it, and I still have that with storage, some of my stuff.
Wow.
That's
killer.
I just thought it was so cool. So I kept that, man. So.
Wow.
That's that kind of Japanese perfectionist in me. Like if it's even a little bit off, like no, just throw it away.
Yeah.
Throw it away, burn it.
Have you seen Jiro? Have you seen Jiro Dreams of Sushi? Have you seen that documentary? That movie?
No, I haven't. It's on my list.
Man.
I heard it's got great reviews.
It's so good. And Jiro, he's the sushi chef in
right.
I don't know if he's in Tokyo or not, but he's like one of the big world renowned guys. Big dog. Yeah. It's like when you go have dinner, it's like 8 people booked for the night. You know what I mean? It's like super one-on-one, and it is so fascinating, man. Because like his guys that work for him, it takes you like 10 years to perfect how to cook the egg. It's like everything has to be perfect, and that's one thing I love about the Japanese mindset is that they don't settle for average.
Mediocrity.
No, mediocrity does not work here. No. We are always pushing to be the absolute best. I always said this when I went over there. What surprised me so much is the street cleaner guy took his job very seriously, and those streets in Tokyo were impeccable.
Dude, man, that exists all over society here, man.
Right.
It's kind of funny, like to compare it to something Star Wars-ish. It's like Yoda, do or do not. There is no try, man. You do it or you don't do it.
Right.
There's no like in between.
Right.
And people, they take their jobs like seriously down to the trash cleaners. They take the job very extremely seriously here because it's a privilege to have that work.
Yes.
And it's a privilege to do your job, and nobody does it half-assed.
Right. Right.
Go into Go ahead.
I was going to say you could take this by extension, and you can even take it into like their youth culture and their subculture, where all the kids who like meet in the park and they get all like into their like the like they're the Lolitas or like the they got the greaser style, and they got like the what was that? There was this one style that was like the hag, that was like a mountain hag. It's like the weird twisted version of Lolita, and all this like how they not just
subcultures
and all this stuff, but they have they all have a style and a dress that how they present themselves, and they go down on, I think it's like on Sundays or something, to this one area in this one park in Tokyo, and they just hang out and they play their music and they do their thing. And you've got to go, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, Google Japanese greasers, and you'll see guys with pompadours that are 3 fucking feet tall.
Yeah, they look great.
Amazing.
Yeah, they look great.
And they look awesome, and it's just like, I want to know those guys.
Yeah.
Man, they have like they have a competition for those. What's the hairstyle called again?
The pompadour.
Like a pompadour.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a competition for that. I think, if I'm not correct, if I'm correct, that the Japanese guys tear up that competition all the time because they're just insanely perfectionist about it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I remember a club in Tokyo where you dressed as a Nazi general or an officer to get into the club, dude. And I saw the club, and I was like, I can't believe this is a thing. How is this a thing, man? But then there's the Led Zeppelin store that's like right around the corner. That's nothing but Led Zeppelin stuff, and you're like, whoa, it's just insane.
I love one of my favorite things. Sorry, James. One of my favorite things about Japan is their. There's otaku, which is like the nerdy. That's what they. It's basically kind of the equivalent of like our American nerds, but like it's to the next level.
Right.
And everybody's dedicated to their thing. like to the next level.
Right.
And there's all these different things that they get into, and it is like, you know, you get into that super specialized niche entertainment form,
Right.
and it's all over, and it's everything. There's a niche for everything in Japan, like the Nazi club, and like
Right.
you can go into
Right.
like vintage stores and dress like you're from the 50s or 60s, and like the band Pizzicato 5, and you can do all these things, but it's also super, you know, it's also the future, basically, you know, it's all these things, and it's just awesome. There was I want to say it was like in the 90s, there was a British TV series hosted by Jonathan Ross called Japanorama, and you can probably find it on YouTube or somewhere on the internet, but it's for the BBC, and it was all about how all these weird, cool, crazy things that Japan had in their culture that made it, that were just this foreign modern Japan, but are all these, but also explore like the roots of it and stuff. So like, you know, you'd have this whole episode on like Kaiju and Ultraman and and all this stuff, which I love and have loved ever since I was a little kid. Godzilla was my first real love. But like, you know, but then they would talk about all the youth culture and all of that, and like, and then to get into, you know, I mean, there's all the weird Japanese, you know, kinks and stuff like that, and where you can buy,
which is a whole other topic, dude.
Exactly.
Oh fuck.
We'll move into that next.
I would.
Like you can where you can buy soiled panties.
Yes. Yes.
In a vending machine.
Yep.
It's awesome.
You can literally buy everything at a vending machine.
Awesome. That's a specific thing that I'm talking about being awesome. But having the ability to do that is awesome.
It's
but
options.
All of it.
Right.
All of it is just really cool.
Yep.
When my family visits, my brother, one of my younger brothers especially, dude, he brings, I would say about 70% of the money that he spends here is on vending machines.
Yeah.
Because he's like, what the fuck? How is this in a vending machine?
Right.
I don't know.
I actually subscribe to a dude on YouTube that does nothing but go to vending machines in Japan and also weird restaurants and shit like that. But that's all he does. It's like he gets the squid, the little squid? Golly, man, they're like how would you describe it? They're these little, like, cooked squid balls. They're squid balls, octopus balls, right? Or something like that.
Oh, you're talking about takoyaki.
Takoyaki.
Balls.
Yeah. Right out of the vending machine.
Yep.
Yeah. It looks delicious. I don't know if it is, but it looks good. It looks really good.
I don't know about the vending machine ones, but
it's worth a try, man. Tell your buddy, dude, it's worth a try.
Yeah.
Worth a try.
There you go. Oh, yeah. Why not? Why not, man? Good on it.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, and we were talking before, you know, and Japan is just such a interesting culture and country, man. I mean, it's one of those places that you go, unlike Europe, where you're a true foreigner. You're right. You know, you are the one that is, you know, is trying to figure things out. You know,
yeah, definitely.
And what I also thought was interesting too is their manner. You know, some of the manners and things. Like my translator told me, she said, if you were if we were in my mother's generation, drinking a soda or eating food in front of people in public is considered like very disrespectful. You know, I was like, whoa. She's like, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like those kind of courtesy things. You know, it's like, huh, wow. No.
Yeah, I think you still see a lot of that stuff down outside of the bigger cities. Like I live in the rural area out here, so you see a lot of those customs. They're still prevalent over here.
Sure.
The bigger cities, I think they've incorporated a lot of international, kind of quirks here and there.
Right.
But when you get out to the boondocks,
right?
Boondocks. Sorry, that reminds me of a story.
Great. Great.
Do you guys know the Boondock Saints?
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Hey, dude. Side note, real quick.
Go for it.
Did you ever see the I'm sorry about the documentary guy. Have you ever seen the documentary? But the one about the dude that made the Boondock Saints. Did you ever see the?
No, I haven't seen
Oh
that.
my God,
I heard it's good.
It's hard. Is it Harvey Weinstein, the guy the piece of shit dirtbag that we've put
I
into
haven't
prison?
heard of that guy. What are you talking
Yeah.
about?
Well,
Epstein, right?
the movie is all about him just trashing the guy that is the producer. Anyway, it's fantastic. And proceed. I'm sorry. I just had to say. Side note: listen or watch that movie.
Okay, I've got my 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon to the Boondocks. Actually, it's less than 6 degrees. It's 1 degree.
Okay.
But all right. So I'm not going to throw out any names here because I don't want to, get anybody into trouble, what have you. But I was down in one of the islands going towards Okinawa. It's called Tokonishima. It's a really, really amazing place. But this was back when I was working for a government office, about 12 years ago, 15 years ago. And we all had this big party down on an island. And so before we go to the island, there's this, we have to get on a ferry. And I'm like the liaison for a lot of the new people coming out there. And I get this mail, and it's from a new worker, one of the new ladies. And she's like, she needs an interpreter. So I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll help you out. One of the new foreigners here. And so she takes me, she needs to get this bike from this one used shop. And I go there, and I think it's just going to be a really easy interpreting job.
Yeah.
And dude, man, she was total bitch to the guy, the owner there, like being really, really totally rude. And I'm doing my best to try to be like really polite Japanese.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to translate this.
Oh,
Holy
no.
shit.
Yeah.
So it was really, really awkward. And she had like set up the whole, the whole interaction. Like she was going to buy this bike from the guy, and ends up like doing, like just grilling him for all this information, haggling and doing all this stuff. And in the end, she doesn't get the bike. I'm like, what the hell was the point of this?
Oh my Lord.
She's on the trip to go down to the island, right, for this party. So we all hop on the ferry together, and yeah, we get to the island, and needless to say, a lot of partying, man. We get this big, huge villa. We got this nice, big old pool out back, and everybody's drinking. Everybody's like just partying. We got a bunch of the Japanese locals there. I would say there's about 40 people out there at this party on this really, really small island. And that night, we had this pool party, and everybody's, wasted, what have you. And I'm in the pool just swimming by myself for some reason. I don't know why. And this lady, she's trying to hook up with one of the Japanese guys, and he's not having it. He's like,
yeah.
She's trying to pull him into the pool, but he's like, nah, I'm not having it. And I go for a little dive in the pool, and boom, I'm like, I hit something really fucking hard, and I'm thinking, what? I'm in the middle of the pool. What's going on here? And I come up, it's like that thing from I come up, look at the surface of the water. I'm in the middle of the pool. I'm like, what did I hit?
Yeah.
And it's like have you guys seen Apocalypse Now?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
When what's his face? He's coming up from out of the water.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Martin Sheen.
Yeah.
It's like that scene.
Yeah, dude.
There's this person who's coming up from the water, and it's her. I'm like, what the hell happened? She had been trying to pull the guy into the water, and she just jumped right into the water by herself, and we had hit heads underwater. And she comes up, and I look at her, I'm like, are you okay? She's like, yeah. I'm like, oh man, my head hurts. And as soon as I say that, I look at her face, and it's like Carrie, just blood just starts pouring down her face. Like, oh shit. And she's like, we had to call like the ambulance, get her taken to the hospital.
Damn.
She gets stitches or what have you. So she's one of the actresses on Boondock Saints.
Oh, really?
I find out.
Oh my God, dude!
She's
That's
one of the actresses on there, and she had like taken a hiatus for acting career to come over to Japan.
wow,
So,
wow,
crazy Boondock Saints.
that's cool,
Sixth
man.
degree.
Hey, that's a nice T-shirt you got on there.
Oh, thanks, dude. It's brand new. Do you like that? It's one of the official What's Your Weird Story t-shirts.
Where'd you get that?
It's funny that you ask. I just got it off the brand new Spreadshirt.com site for the What's Your Weird Story podcast. There's no www. You just go straight to shop.spreadshirt.com/what's without the apostrophe WHATS hyphen YER-WEIRD-STORY, and that'll take you right there.
I mean, you can never own enough clothing.
Well, it's true, Barry. There's t-shirts for the ladies because, you know, they're cut differently. There's hoodies, which are really cool. There's 2 different kinds of hoodies, and there's also tote bags, so you can tote your stuff.
That's so cool, man.
So if you guys go out to spreadshirt.com, What's Your Weird Story, currently there are 2 designs, but there will be more going up very soon. So just keep your eyes out for that. And if you decide to get one of their shirts, tag yourself on Instagram to ours or Facebook. Show your love. Show us what you got. Let's see your true colors. So you literally banged a famous Hollywood actor.
So true, man. How many can say that? Not many people can say that, dude.
Oh, man.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh, man.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's wow. Yeah, man. That is that movie was a great movie. Boondock Saints.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
It's crazy because when I watched it first, this was back in the days. It was like it hit like, even though it had just been released, it was already reaching that like cult classic kind of level. And they've made it like a sequel or 2, but I think that documentary that got a lot of good hype to it. But I have to check that out,
dude. It is wild. It's I can't even explain it to you how wild it is. But looking back on it now, I want to watch it again because knowing who Harvey Weinstein is. And he's the voice of the other on the other line, the whole freaking movie, man. And he is a dirtbag, dude. A fucking dirt. Not like he wasn't. Not like we didn't know, but like for sure, like psychopath. Just a psychopath of a human being, dude. You know.
I think that there's probably a good handful of those kind of people in Hollywood and stuff. And like, I just met somebody who was on the a very small, minuscule figure in that world, and still the attitude and everything, man. I was like,
right. Yeah.
I'm going to stick to my stuff here.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Stick in my neighborhood.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh man. Wow. That's great.
Yeah, there's that's one of those crazy stories. But I don't know, like you said you had been over here in Japan a couple of times, right?
Yeah.
For working with the bands and stuff.
Yep.
There's like another thing about living over here. You know, having your small stints here, you get the tip of the iceberg. But when you've been here for a while, you get a bunch of.
I can imagine.
Yeah, you see a lot of the crazy customs and stuff and what have you. But
right.
One of the weirdest experiences I've had with Japanese customs over here, and I don't know if you guys will ever have the opportunity to do this or not, is a funeral. When somebody passes away, man. Like the funeral itself is, it's really crazy. They combine like
Shinto.
Like the funeral is Buddhist. The funeral is basically Buddhist, right?
Yeah.
So there's this big huge room where they have the wake. Mm-hmm. And there's like all these flowers. It's really like decked out. It's really a bunch of gold and flashy lanterns and stuff.
Right.
And during that time, there's like a lot of crying, a lot of sadness and what have you. And then after that's over, they take him to the what's it called? The crematory?
Yeah, crematorium. Something. Yeah.
Crematorium. Sorry,
crematorium.
The crematorium. And then they only. When they take him to the crematorium, they have the person who's like the oldest child or the person who's next in line. They get to push the button for them to, go through that process. And then afterwards, in the States or whatever, I guess that's where it would stop. That's where it would end. Right. But in Japan, that's the first step. There's a next step that comes afterwards. I don't know if you guys have heard about this before, but you have to go into a room. This is like immediate family members.
Okay.
And when my wife's grandma passed away, they asked me if I wanted to do this because I'd never had this experience before, and all of them had. You go into a room, and they have the body there after it's been cremated. It's there, and all there are bones.
Oh, wow.
And ashes.
Wow.
And there's a big urn that they put the ashes and everything in afterwards. And there's a guy who works at the crematorium, and he's explaining to everybody which bone is which. And there's have our Adam's apple here.
Right.
Mm-hmm. After you get cremated, there's Adam's apple. It looks like there's an image of Buddha in it.
Oh, wow.
And so that's why this is a very important part.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Of a very important form. Yeah, I didn't know about it at all. So I'm freaked out. I'm sitting here like her grandma's bones are right in front of us. And the next step is that there's a thing of chopsticks. And you pick up, the guy picks up the bone, he hands it to one person, and you have to pick it up with chopsticks. And you pass that along, and you put it into the urn at the end. So we're basically passing around bones, the grandma's, the deceased bones, and putting it in the urn.
Wow.
And the thing is, like, I thought, I'd heard about this before, and I thought it was going to be like this really dark, because, Japanese customs, really like, polite and what have you.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be like this dark, low-lit room. Everybody's quiet, and it's a very, respectful kind of ceremony. Man, this room was bright. It was really bright, and everybody, I kind of like it now, hindsight 2020, I really liked how it was a really jovial mood in there. Everybody was kind of laughing, talking about things. Wow. And it kind of like, it was completely opposite of what the whole atmosphere was like at the actual wake itself, the funeral itself. Wow. But everybody was just kind of laughing. It was really bright and very hot in the room because the body's been cremated.
Wow.
But that was so the chopsticks, the bone get passed to me.
Wow.
And I'm like just nervous, like don't drop the bone, don't drop the bone.
Yeah, of course. Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy.
Yeah.
The big white blubbering idiot because he doesn't know how to chop sticks.
Man.
Drops the bone on the ground.
Wow.
But that was just surreal.
That's one of those things that like I never even heard that before.
Yeah,
a lot of people don't know about it.
Yeah.
But that's why if you're here and you have chopsticks and you're eating something and you go to give it to somebody else and they try to get it with their chopsticks, it's a big no. No. Okay. Because you only do that chopstick to chopstick passing of bones, and that only occurs.
That's a bad. Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Right. That's. Yeah.
It's just little things like that you don't know about until you've actually been immersed in.
Yeah, but there's so many, that's the thing. Another thing that's fascinating about Japan is that so many of these little actions have so many meanings.
Yes.
And everything has meaning. You know, it's like all these things, like folding a napkin a certain way.
Yeah.
Or how you prepare tea, or how you cut flowers and arrange all this stuff has specific meanings.
Which sock you put on first.
Right. Well, there you go. Yeah. It's like, and whereas me, it's like whichever one I pick up first, it's like whatever. It's usually, I don't think about it.
To many people over here, I must just look like a gigantic bull going through an antique store, just knocking things over. Like, he's completely not following. But people here are really, really understanding about that kind of stuff, man. Like, I don't get any kind of,
well, they're kind of. I'm sure they're polite, and it would be impolite for them to even kind of, as long as you're not being completely disrespectful, destructive.
Big ass.
You're trying to be part of it. You're not being your typical American tourist. Let's face it.
Right.
Just being an ass and just demanding everybody bend to your whims and speak English and speak at them loudly until they do. Oh,
dude, I saw that kind of stuff in Italy, man. When I was on the art program, we did the whole thing in Feltre, Italy. Did you do that, by the way? Adam?
I did a different program, but I did go to Italy. I went to Pistoia.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah.
I remember being over there. There was a bunch of American tourists, and I just was just kind of eavesdropping in on their conversations. Why are all the signs here in Italian? Like. I want to say that's an obvious answer, but
right. Yeah. That's hilarious. Yeah.
Did you have what time of year did you go over there? Did you go during the summer?
To me from Italy?
Yeah.
I went in summer. in 2000, summer 2001, actually.
Shit, I was there in 2002, maybe. Oh, I was the year there. No, I was there 2001. No way.
Wow.
It was the same year then.
Wow. I know.
Go
ahead.
Go ahead.
I went with the art ed. I went with an art ed group there.
Okay.
So I wasn't part of like the painting group or any of the other stuff. I went with this. Honestly, my mom found it, and she called me and she's like, "Go fill out this paper where, and I'll pay for it." I'm like, "Okay." So what I did, and they let me in because I was, I was in art major, and they're like, they only had one other male that was part of our group. He was a 45-year-old Muslim man. Oh, so and it was then me and 16 young women, and then right there. Oh yeah, it sounded terrible, but dude, oh my
perfect.
But this was it was culture shock for me because while I had plenty of friends who were women, I had never been part of where it was just an all women group or whatever.
Yeah.
So this is when I discovered that when women decide have conversations and decide what they want to do, they all talk at the same time, and they all understand each other and what's going on. They kind of come to a conclusion, and then then they'd go, and then whereas I'm like, what? What's going on? I don't understand. I need one voice at a time.
Right. Yeah.
And then I can follow along.
Right.
But yeah, so I was a bit, some of the biggest culture shock was there dealing with my own people.
Right.
So,
Dude, I can't throw complete shade at the American tourist in Italy though, because there was an American tourist who saved me in Italy. I went by myself before the whole group got there. There was 13 of us, and I went by myself for a week ahead of time. And I was like, I'm just going to try to experience by myself, even though I don't know any Italian. Yeah. I picked up a book with some simple phrases. I got off at Milan, and I headed over to Verona. And I see the old Colosseum there. Yeah.
Okay.
Verona, where Romeo and Juliet and all that happened.
Gotcha.
And there's a Colosseum there, one of the old Colosseums. And I'm walking around looking at that, having an amazing time. And it was hot as hell. And I was so thirsty. And all I wanted was a water.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I've grown up in America, and I've just had the same water all my whole life. So I go up to one of the little ice cream shops, right?
Yeah.
Gelateria.
Yeah.
And I go, vorrei un acqua per favore. Can I have a water, please? That's the only thing I remember.
Right.
And they're like, oh, yeah. And they hand me over water. And I'm dying of thirst. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so thirsty. And I take a big gulp, and I'm just spit it out. What the hell is this? It tastes like salt water.
Right.
What are you trying to kill me or something? And I'm like, I look at this bottle, I can't drink this stuff. I don't know what this is. So I throw that away, and I go to another place. I say the same thing. Can I have a water? And they hand me it, and same thing happens again.
Bubbly water.
I'm thinking,
yep.
Bubbly water. And I had never had that before, ever.
Yep. Gas,
and to me, it tasted like salt water the first time I had it. Now I'm addicted to this stuff. I drink it all the time. But at that time, I was like,
100%.
I'm dying of thirst.
Yep.
I'm going to die.
Yep.
And I'm sitting over there next to Romeo and Juliet's tomb, thinking I'm going to die in Italy, right next to Romeo and Juliet died. And this American tourist just calmly walks right up to me, and he just sees me he goes, do you need some water? I'm like, yes. He's like, not the bubbly kind, right? Just the regular water. I'm like, oh, yes. He's like, here you are. And I thank you so much. And he's like, you have to say acqua minerale, like mineral water, and then you'll get the real stuff.
Oh, man.
And then, yes, I down that. And then now that I'm revived, I've got my points up and what have you, I walk over and I see this really, really beautiful view. There's a little island. I don't know what it is. There's this whole city built up on it. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And then all of a sudden I hear these loud shouting, these voices. And I look over to my left, and there's just huge crowd of riot police.
Oh,
what
shit.
the hell? And I look over to my right, and there's a huge crowd of protesters coming over, and I'm thinking, oh no, I'm in the middle of a clash.
Yeah.
And these protesters start, and I'm like the deer stuck in the headlights. I couldn't move. I had to see what was going on. And the policemen, the riot police are coming closer. The protesters are coming closer. And I'm thinking, oh no, I'm about ready to hit, like this shit's about ready to go down. And then I noticed, wait a second, those protesters, they don't seem that angry about what's going on. And the riot police, they seem very calm. And I look over and I notice, it's like the LGBT.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's LGBT protest.
Right.
And then there's the cameraman, like for the TV crew, and then there's a guy who runs up to me and he throws the rainbow sticker on my chest, and he's like, welcome. I'm like, oh no, I'm not gay. He throws up on me.
You are today.
Oh, I'm not gay.
You are today.
I'm American. I don't understand what's going on here.
What's going on here?
Oh, that's great. That's hilarious. You're a target now. You're one of us. That's perfect. Yeah. Oh man.
Hey everybody, you're listening to the What's Your Weird Story podcast. You probably knew that already because you're listening or downloaded to the episode off of your iTunes or your Spotify or whatever place you get your podcast from. We want to thank you for listening. We also want to remind you to like us, follow us, subscribe to us, make sure that you get your new podcast episode every week. We'd also like to ask you to rate and review so that we can grow our audience, we can have more friends, we can have more stories. So thanks for listening to What's Your Weird Story.
I tell you what, man, one of the best meals I've ever had, it was in Japan, and it was we went to some ramen shop in, I can't remember where it was, man, but I just got done being sick for like 12, 14 days. I literally shit everything I could possibly shit out of my body. Anything that went in, went out for 10 to 12 days. So, but man, having that, like, because real Japanese ramen, for people that don't know, is a religion, guys. I mean, it is... in Japan, it's treated very seriously. You know, if you have a ramen shop, usually you're trying to make the best ramen you can possibly make. But I think we stumbled upon one of the best because it was, oh my God, it tasted so good, man. And I could finally keep stuff down, you know?
Yeah, they got like their soy sauce based ramen.
Yeah.
You've got your like
pork based. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to say it all in English.
Yeah,
pork based.
Yeah. What is it?
Yeah, dude, it's a religion over here.
Yes,
it's a religion.
it's so good. And if you never had real ramen, go get some. I mean, it's
with some gyoza. Gotta have
some gyoza. Yes, dude.
Your pot stickers,
yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's a great hangover remedy, by the way.
100%, man. 100%. Yeah, I mean,
speaking of shitting your pants.
Yeah, dude. No, please. We love shit stories, man.
Speaking of shitting your pants, dude. You ever been to India?
No. For that reason, I think. Where you're going with this is the reason why.
Oh man, India is a time like that. That is completely different world. Like if you've never been there, it's like going 3,000 years into the past.
Right.
And I went there on some volunteer work down in the south, Chennai.
Okay.
And there was a group, I think there was like 12, 13 of us. We went there to go do some volunteer work to help a village. A bunch of houses had burned down. So we went there to help rebuild. I don't know what I was doing. I just wanted to go to India, and like it was nice to be able to help out people at the same time. But it's funny in Japanese, diarrhea is called geri.
Getty.
Yeah, and all of us, we were traveling from Japan.
Yeah.
So we decided to call diarrhea Gary. It had a name, Gary. We gave it the name Gary. And every day Gary came to visit one of us. It took its turn.
Gary,
They're like, hey, man, where's John at today? Oh, dude, Gary's visiting him right now, so he's not going to be with us today.
He'll be a minute. Oh, man, that's great.
And I was like, I'm immune to this. Every single person in the group was getting hit, and I'm like, dude, I'm all right. I'm cool. Gary's not going to visit me.
Right.
And it was getting towards the end of our trip, and I was like, I'm immune. India didn't do it to me. And we went on a day excursion to this. We were going to hit two places that day, an old fort, rock fort, I believe it was called. And there was this temple that had like a gigantic statue like this of a cobra inside of it. There's a huge temple there. And we go to the fort, feeling fine, have a good time there. We head off to the temple, and on the way there, I start feeling something. Start feeling this. Oh, is that? Something feels just a little bit strange there. I feel like a little bit queasy, but it's probably just something tricks playing with my mind or what have you.
Right.
And on the way there, it's getting worse and worse and worse. Ugh. And of course, you have India summer heat as well, like combining with this feeling, like,
fuck me,
man, something bad's about ready to happen. We get to the temple, and I'm walking around and like talking to everybody, like, dude, guys, I think I'm starting to get hit with a little bit of Gary here. They're like, oh man, we feel for you. I hope it's not what it is. And we get to the room, this gigantic cobra at the end, and it's packed full of people, and it's hot as hell. And that's when it hit. And I'm like, guys, I gotta go. So I run back to the bus. And there's these guards, the Indian, like the military guards there waiting at the entrance. And I go, is there a bathroom here? And they just point me over that way. And of course, you got to pay a little bit of money to use the bathroom.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm going to shit my pants. And at that time, we were being like the locals. We all had like our those tunic things on.
Right. You're trying to fit
I
in.
hop in the bathroom, like, I'm going to shit my tunic. I look around. Have you guys seen Train Spotting?
Oh yeah. Spotting, right? Oh, that's my
favorite scene where it's
my favorite. My favorite scene, dude.
The worst toilet in Scotland. Remember that?
Yeah, exactly.
I went to the worst toilet in India. Water. There was water, and you could see bits of shit and stuff floating around. And I was like, I don't have a choice, man. I just lift up my tunic.
Yeah.
Boom, and I just. Are you
shitting in a hole or are you shitting in a toilet?
I'm shitting in a hole. It's a hole. I'm doing the squat. I'm just like spraying it.
Oh no, dude. What happens? What?
And that's where the story begins.
Okay.
That's where it begins. So I basically thought I could shit no more here. I cannot shit any more here. Everything is expelled out of my body. There's no way. And I get out of there, and I get on the bus, and it's like I had run a marathon. I get onto the bus, and everybody's on there waiting for me. They're like, dude, you all right? Like, man, that's the worst shit I've ever had. That was the worst toilet in the world, but I don't give a shit. I just laid down in the middle of the bus floor, right? I laid down. And it's like a 2.5 hour drive back to where we're staying. And I'm like, we're going there. And I'm like, I'm just going to fall asleep. Wake me up when we get home. Nah. The diarrhea gods. They woke me up like every 15 minutes.
Gary
likes to party, man. Get off the bus. And just shitting. I don't know what I'm shitting anymore. There's like nothing. And
childhood memories.
I've been there.
Point, I think.
Yeah.
So.
And finally it's nighttime now, and we're in the middle of nowhere. Like there's just like huts around us. Like there's like just big huge like what you would call it tree field mango tree fields, tree fields, and these little huts where they're like using fires for lights. We're in the middle of nowhere, and I have to get off the bus again. And I go over to like a gigantic, I don't know if it's like an anthill or whatever, and I'm just over there puking and shitting at the same time. Both ends. It's an exodus of stuff from my body. And my friend, one of the guys who's with me, he comes out. It's like, man, you okay? I was like, dude, I shit my pants. He's like, man, we've all been there, dude. I'm like, what do I do with them? And there's like this huge, gigantic field on the left side of the road, and on the right side of the road, there's this hut with all these villagers sticking their head out, looking at me with their little fire inside. Like, I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm shitting in your yard. I know I am. It's horrible. It's like, what do I do? It's my underwear. They're filthy. It's like, man, just chuck them in the field over there. It'll be okay. So at this point, like, I've been shitting and puking for like an hour, and I take all of my energy and I heave my underwear, my soiled underwear, and literally they land halfway into the road. They didn't make the field, and I'm like, let's just go. Yeah. So ended up getting on the bus. Don't even remember getting home. Yeah. And then the next day you wake up perfectly fine.
Are you
Gary
serious?
had done his job.
Really?
Yeah, every single one of us, it hit us.
Wow.
It hits you for like 4 or 5 hours.
Right.
Wake up the next day, you're completely fine. Way to go again.
Man, you got lucky. You got lucky. Man, is there no worse feeling than feeling like shit and knowing you've got to fucking travel somewhere? Doesn't that suck?
Man,
it's the worst.
That sucks because, especially if you're on your own, that's luckily I wasn't on my own, but you have like this whole group of the support group around you.
Right.
That's the first India story. So,
dude,
the place that we volunteered at, that was the year before the big tsunami. You guys remember the big tsunami hit like India and stuff?
Right.
Okay, so the place where we volunteered at, it got hit by the tsunami that Christmas, the next year, that year. So we went there, helped out, got hit by the tsunami, and so we went back again the next year. We weren't planning on going back at all. To help out with the orphanage, just not to do any kind of rebuilding or anything, but just to help out, play with the kids or what have you. So yeah, we went to the area that got hit by the tsunami, and after we did that little, after we helped out with those the guys there, we decided to do a little 3-day trip at the end of our volunteer work there, and so we go up into these mountains. It's crazy. Like you start at the bottom. It's hot summer, and by the time you get to the mountain, at the top of the mountain, you have to have your winter clothes because it's cold as anything.
Wow.
And so there was only 3 of us by the end of there was only 3 of us who went on this trip the second time around. And we went and stayed at a hotel. They had no hot water, so we were taking cold showers in the middle of winter.
Oh God.
We stayed there for I think it was a day or 2, and then we took a bus to the train station, and as we are going down, I start feeling bad again. I'm thinking, oh no, I'm getting hit by Gary, part 2. But it was a different feeling this time. It was kind of a feeling of nausea, I don't know how to describe it. So we get down to the bottom, we get to the train station, and I'm like, oh guys, I'm not feeling good. I'm just going to stay here at the train station while you guys go off and do your own thing. And finally, they come back and we hop on the train, and this time I feel like it's like I have a fever. I feel sick, like a fever kind of sick, like the flu or something. But it just hit like out of nowhere, and we took like one of the cheap tickets on the train. We went to the city and we got one of the nice like seats, which doesn't cost much at all. But we decided we were going to have like the local experience on the way back, and we got one of the cheap seats in the back. And by the time we got there, like on the train, I was like out of it, like dead. And I had to lie down in the back. I had a fever. I was sweating. I didn't pass out. I didn't go unconscious, but I was at that space between being unconscious and. And the next thing I know, there's a huge storm. This huge storm, and it doesn't rain a lot in Italy in India that time of the year. But a huge storm, like lightning, the heavens opened up. It just started like pouring down, pissing down, and the train couldn't go. The train couldn't. It had to stop and wait until like the rain calmed down. So during that whole time, my status is going worse and worse and worse to the point where
yeah.
I really thought that I was going to die. I had to go to the hospital, whatever.
God.
And at this point, I just blank out. And then the next thing I come to, and they've got medicine for me, and they've got water for me, and they've got a person helping me. And the two other people I'm with, they look at me and they go, they're just like this shocked look on their face. I'm like, well, what's going on? What's happened? They're like, dude, this was the craziest shit I've ever seen. Like, what happened? Man, you were out of it. You were gone. But the whole time you were speaking to them in the local dialect, asking them for stuff and ordering them around and talking to them. And they went out and got medicine and water for you. And you told all of this in the Tamil language, which I don't speak.
Whoa,
I learned a couple little phrases here and there, but nothing much. But they said you were speaking in the local dialect and had them going out and getting things for you.
Wow.
Dude,
wow.
I don't know how that happened.
Wow. Wow.
That was weird.
That's a crazy story, dude.
That is a crazy story,
And
man.
ended up I told them all of my symptoms, ended up getting a certain kind of medicine, and it helped me out in the end.
Wow.
That was, just another wicked kind of
wow.
Indian experience.
Here's the thing, man. Everybody always says this, and especially like Westerners that go to India. Everybody says India is magical. Like it's a whole magical place.
Yeah.
And because you always hear these amazing stories out of India, and it's, but magic is alive there. You know what I mean? Stuff is there. It's very much alive and very much, their culture is, so much older and richer than ours is, by centuries and, thousands of years. So that's,
well, they were,
that was insane. Yeah. That was one of those, I don't know how to explain it. All I could say is something took over. I had the spirit.
Well, hey,
dude.
There's something to be said for that. I always think if you have a judgment towards things like that, like, exposing yourself to, different ways of life and religious beliefs and folklore and all that stuff that exists, that, it's these people, that live over there they've explored the mind and the body and taken it places where, we're still trying to figure out. They're, of course, Buddhism and Hinduism and, that Eastern philosophy idea that sprung out of that area it's just rich with history and just incredible, man.
The place that we stayed at too, it was very unique because there's a huge Christianity influence there.
Right.
What you call it? In the South.
Right.
It's a lot of Catholic. No, it's not Christian. It's Catholicism. What have you? But the place that we stayed at, they had the guy who worked there. He was it was all connected with the Catholic Church or what have you. Mm-hmm. It's funny when we got there too. All of the kids of the village that we were helping out of, they had a nickname for me, and I was like, and I kept they had this nickname for me. I was like, what does it translate as? They're calling you Jesus James.
Jesus James.
I was like, why the hell are they calling me Jesus James? And this began at the beginning of the trip. And we were there for 7 or 8 days. And at the beginning of the trip, as soon as we got off, got to the place where we were staying, they're like, Jesus James, Jesus James. Like, why are they calling me this? I'm no God or anything, guys. Just a normal old white guy. You know?
Right.
And so the whole trip, they're calling me this the whole time, and I don't know why, and I couldn't really get an explanation. And then the last day that we were there, we had our going away kind of ceremony / party, and there was a little chapel in the middle of the village that we had helped work at, where the houses had burnt down. And two crazy things happened. One, we were there in the middle of a horrible, horrible, horrible drought. Like, the earth was cracked. There was cracks all over the earth, right? There had been no rain there for months, apparently. And they had a saying in that part of India, I don't know if it's all over India, but that part especially, they said, if visitors come from afar, they will bring rain with them. And on the last day they were there, dude, the heavens opened and it just started pouring down rain.
Wow.
And everybody was like, thank you so much for giving this to us. I was like, I don't.
Wow.
No problem.
Wow. Wow.
So that was the first thing. So the when we were having our farewell ceremony, that it just started pouring down rain while we were there. And then we go into the chapel where they have like their whole, what's it called? Your effigy of the Virgin Mary.
Right.
And they had their one of Jesus in there. Mm-hmm. And I finally figured out why they were calling me Jesus James. The Jesus effigy that they had in there. And at that time I had long hair.
Right.
Long red hair with a red mustache and red goatee. And I've got red hair, red mustache, and red goatee, and it's a white Jesus. That's why they're called Jesus James the whole time.
That's funny.
Because I look exactly like
That's funny. That's hilarious.
That's so good.
That's
dude.
awesome. Jesus James, man. Dude, you could be a touring act with that name, Jesus James, you know?
There you go. my new YouTube channel, I'm going to call it Jesus James.
Man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, man. What a trip, dude.
Oh, man, yeah.
I mean, that is, India is one of those places not very many people go. There's not that many folks that go over there, so that's,
There's a huge yoga training people. They go over there to do the whole yoga stint, and you don't meet a lot of people like, oh, what do you want to do on vacation? Well, let's go over to India, get some diarrhia.
Right.
I do love Indian food, though. I will say that.
My God.
Man, amazing. Yeah, it was amazing.
Me too.
It was so
especially
good.
if you're vegetarian, man. So much of it there is the vegetarian-based food.
They do it right. They do it right, man.
Well, yeah.
Everything's bold.
They believe
flavor.
in spice.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was a vegetarian at the time as well. I did that for about 3 or 4 years. And then I came to Miyazaki, and we have a delicacy here called chicken namban. And I got drunk one night and ended up
getting in the chicken.
Ended up going to bed with a bag of chicken namban. Falling asleep drunk, eating this stuff, and waking up the next day like, oh, what have I done? What have I done?
That's hilarious.
Got chicken all over my face.
What is that? Is that grilled chicken? Is it a grilled chicken, or what is it, man?
It's kind of like it's like a deep fried chicken, but it's got a very light kind of
panko type breading or something.
But it's like a very light one. It's done with basically like a flour batter.
Oh yeah, rice flour, like rice flour.
And there's like an egg and tartar sauce that they mix up with it. That's called chicken namban, man. Oh,
that sounds good.
My wife's dad, they own a restaurant, and he's a sushi chef as well.
Nice, man.
So if you ever get the chance,
be careful what you say, dude. I'm gonna fucking come down there and wreck shop, dude.
Hey man, did I ever tell you about this recent thing that happened to me? I was driving around in the country and it was just after dusk. So there's a little bit of light still coming on out of the sky, but it was mostly dark. I saw this black school bus.
I don't think I've ever heard this.
Okay, so I saw this black school bus. All the windows were tinted and it started following me for about 15 minutes.
Whoa, no.
Yeah.
What did you do?
I was at work. I was making deliveries and I just kept making my deliveries and like it would even stop and wait for me. And but it was never close enough to where I could see it or anything, but it was following me, man.
Wow. Dang.
That's just an example of another really weird story that happened to me and that could have happened to you. You don't have to have a UFO encounter. You don't have to have seen the ghost of your grandmother. You don't have to know what Bigfoot smells like to have had a weird story. Basically, what we're saying is weird covers a lot of ground here on the What's Your Weird Story podcast. And we love hearing all of your stories, whether they're spooky, they're funny, they're bizarre, or they're just short, sweet, and unexplained. Kind of like our podcast.
my last little story here, I guess. A lot of people over here believe in kanashibari. Kanashibari, it's basically a ghost that it puts pressure on you, like on your chest. And so this, most people around here that I know believe in it. They think, oh man, I had one visit me last night. I woke up and I felt like this pressure on my chest. So it must have been a ghost visiting me.
Wow.
So my wife, when I decided to propose to her, I looked out this really nice spot that we have in the city where it overlooks all the city. A lot of people go paragliding from there. So I'd looked up the place, decided the time, blah, blah, blah. And I told her, this is right before we were going to go visit the States. I was like, Hannah, I'd like to go take some photos of our city from a nice vantage point before we go back to the States. So let's go check it out. She's like, well, where are you thinking about? And I told her the place. She's like, oh, no, we can't go there. Well, why not? It's really nice. I've gone there many times. She's like, no. My friends and I in college, one time we were driving down from that spot, and halfway through, we all at the same time felt the kanashibari.
Wow.
So there has to be a ghost that is inhabited in that place, so I won't go there anymore.
Wow.
So I was like, oh shit, what do I do?
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be proposing to you right now.
Right.
So I was like looking at my cell phone, another pretty place.
Well, now that you just screwed up all my plans, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, shit.
Ended up having to change the place where I was going to propose to her.
That's hilarious.
So
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
That's wild. Well, up until you said when it happened, it sounds kind of like sleep paralysis when people kind of wake up, and they can't move and they feel that pressure on their chest and stuff like that, and various things. But she was awake and they were driving, then they felt that. That's a whole other thing.
Right.
Yeah. So, some people say that they feel it when they wake up, and other people say they feel it while they're conscious. And all of them said, all 4 girls in the car at the same time said, do you feel that? So,
Whoa. Wow.
I don't know.
That's a great story.
So yeah, that's it.
That's awesome, dude. Thank you so much for coming on, man.
No
Seriously.
problem, guys, man. Time just flew by.
I know,
right?
I looked down the clock like, what? It's almost 10?
I didn't think you had any weird stories to tell, man. Like, those are all totally normal.
Well, as I was talking to you guys, I started remembering things here and there, and it just kind of...
That's the beauty of it,
That
man.
happened.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, it's the beauty of it. That's what happens every time. That's why we just we let it roll, we let it wander, because conversations just, whenever they wander, meander like that, it's the best because you get to so many different weird places. Because we got to India, we got to all over Italy. We went all over the place. So man, it's
dirty soiled panty vending machines.
Exactly.
Great.
Exactly.
It's a great idea.
This is going to be an interesting edit.
I'm working on the patent right now for the US. How would that fly? Not very well. All right, man. We'll let you go, James.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks again for having me on, and whenever we get the chance again, let's do it.
Okay.
Absolutely, man. We'll definitely set that up, and we'll do it. And appreciate you waking up and joining us, man.
Yeah, we'll wake up next time, and you can be on beer time. You know what I'm saying?
There we go.
All right,
guys.
All right, man.
Take it easy.
Care. All right.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
Say, Barry.
Yeah.
What's the weirdest job you've ever had?
That's a good question. It would either have to be the time that I worked at a cattle feedlot or the time that I worked for a Greek painter.
Were you his model?
Not quite.
Well, it's funny because one of my weirdest jobs was being a model in art school, but it was portraits, not full body nude. The reason I'm asking is because those jobs may be kind of normal, but we know people are out there that have weirder jobs than that. Maybe you're a mortician. Maybe you're a scientist trying to bring back the dinosaurs or the woolly mammoth.
That'd be cool.
That would be really cool. If you guys out there have weird jobs, unusual jobs, crime scene photographer, maybe you worked at an adult educational film set. if you know what I mean. Wink, wink. Just something that's unusual, out of the ordinary, and, a little bit weird. Hey, those are cool stories too. We'd love to hear those. So give us a call or an email or whatever. You know how to get a hold of us. Be part of the community of Weirdsville. James, dude, thank you for joining us. That was such a great talk. It was good talking to James. We just had a fun conversation, as you guys have heard here, and we even had to cut some of it out because it was a long and lengthy one. But man, we'll save some of that for another time. But James, thank you once again for getting up so early and joining us.
Yeah.
And sharing your stories.
Yeah, it was great. Jesus James.
And
of course, no secret, Japan is one of my favorite countries I've ever been to. It's a great country to, especially for a Westerner to go visit, because it is just a different way of looking at life. And, and when you're there, we talked a little bit about before, as a Westerner, not many people speak English, which is a far cry from if you're traveling, say South America or over in Europe. You're going to find people that speak English.
Yeah.
But over there, you've really got to figure it out on your own if you don't have a translator. And that was really kind of what I wanted to talk to him about. What is it like to live there, especially in the area that he lives in that has the different dialect?
Right.
We didn't know that was really a thing. And it's just cool, man. And wild stories. The one about the dream he had about his neighbor, the elderly woman that passed away, is chilling story.
Yeah. Well, and the one that gets me though the most is that when he was in India and he was sick, and he was talking to the locals in their local tongue that he didn't know, and he wasn't even conscious,
right.
And yet he was telling them what he needed, and that got him back. And, I would be right there in disbelief with his friends, man.
Wild. And India is another country that is it's such a mystical place that I would love to go visit in the right situation. If you've got the funds to go over there and do it,
right.
in a way but at the same time, by traveling to countries that are not as westernized as here, it's tough, man. I mean, not only because your gut biome itself is trying to figure out what's going on. Obviously, he had that situation happen, which is a little bit scary for me because, I don't know what I would do with explosive diarrhea. In a country that is not really set up for you to find a toilet easily,
right?
Right. But yeah,
hey, man, you go out a field and nature takes its course.
That's right.
Just like
That's right. But yeah, man, awesome stuff, James. We appreciate you taking the time, and we want to get him back on and share some more stories.
Yeah, we'll get Jesus James back on. And Jesus James, the name I love the name, but it reminds me of Jesus Jones.
Yes.
Which is a great 90s throwback. And also, the very first CD that I bought was the CD single for Right Here, Right Now by Jesus Jones.
Wow.
And I didn't even have a CD player,
but
I knew I was going to get one.
Wow.
Determined to get one, and I saw the CD single, and I bought it at the Cold Springs Mall in Oklahoma City.
Yep.
I believe it was on a church trip with the youth group.
Yeah, that would make sense, man. Yeah, I think I bought a single, a Metallica single from the And Justice for All record on a trip, a church trip, which may sound odd to people, but that's what we did. We had a youth group, and we'd go there when was that? We'd go there on the weekends or some shit.
Well, yeah, it'd definitely be a weekend.
Yeah.
And it's also a special trip. We sometimes we go around like Christmas time for to go shopping or whatever. Because I mean, we lived in, once again, if you're not familiar, we lived in a small town. All we had access to was a Walmart, and it wasn't even a super Walmart. It didn't even have groceries in it. It was just a tiny, tiny Walmart that had some, music there in the back, but not much. And if you didn't listen to the pop country or, pop radio at that time, then there was really nothing. I think somebody accidentally ordered a Fugazi record that was in there one time, but but so we would go to with our church youth group. It would be like, I don't know if it was once a month or like probably every couple of months. It would be a treat for us to go to the mall.
That's right.
A couple of hours at the mall, and then maybe see a movie together or something, but as a group. And and you could do your shopping, because we had to do shopping there because, this is back when mall culture was what it was at its peak.
That's right.
And we're going and hanging out at the mall was like,
a big deal.
For the kids in Oklahoma City and Edmond who were right there and had access, that's what they would do normally. But we were farm kids, man.
Yep.
We were, from the country.
That's right.
We had the straw out of our mouth and everything.
Yeah.
But, so it's
true.
a real, real special thing. And going and being able to buy music was a real treat, and so you really had to really know what you wanted because, again, this is, way pre-internet.
Yep. So
you had to remember what you saw. But yeah, man, Jesus Jones, associations. Anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, great stuff, man. Again, if you guys want to come on the podcast and share some crazy stories or what maybe you think are normal stories, we would love to have you.
Yeah. Oh, we just love hearing a good story, and like Barry said, your normal story may be really weird to somebody else. And travel stories are always great because, experiencing different cultures and then having violent BM. You don't have to have violent BM, but
it helps.
You can definitely measure by the amount of giggles that Barry produced during that portion of the show, if you listen. He loves us.
I love the BMs, man.
So. Cool deal. Well, hey, next week we've got some more travel stories for you guys. We have got return once again of our friend of the show, Sam Nearing, and our good buddy Sam, who is stranded here in the States during COVID, away from his wife in China, and we're taking advantage of him and talking to him and recording lots of stories as we can. But this time, no Juggalo stories, no super tripped out drug stories that I recall, at least. We got some, actually, this is kind of poignant. This is kind of contemporary stories. We've got some stories of Sam. Sam loves going to riots and just observing. And so he's got some stories about some riots that he saw in Korea, as well as some riots in Egypt when he was in Cairo, and some pretty wild, crazy, dangerous stuff. And it's weird because, most of us would not be just going, I think I'll go down to the riots today and observe, you know? Yeah. So, since we've got all this, everything is contentious and going on in our current climate here in the States, here's some riot stuff that is not so much of the boiling point that's going on now. I don't know what I'm getting at, but anyway.
Yep. Yeah, it's very timely.
It is time.
Right.
I guess
in a different perspective.
So on that note, make sure you follow us on all our social medias. Check out our Patreon if you want to support the show financially. Every little bit helps. We love it, and it helps us, bring you the show and continue to make the show and provide it to you free of cost. And if you, and we understand also it's not the greatest time to be starting up a Patreon campaign, but hey,
it's the times
we live in.
Yeah.
It's there if you so choose to support. Otherwise, support us by sharing the show with your friends and give us ratings and reviews, especially on like iTunes, Apple Podcast, all that stuff. Go write us, give some good write-ups there. That really helps bring a lot of new traffic to the show that we don't normally get, because people will see that we're getting good reviews, and they'll see people mentioning this podcast that they've not heard of before, and it makes them curious, and it'll draw them in. So, we want to get more traffic coming in. We want more people to join us here in Weirdsville, along with you, our friends, our dear friends and supportive listeners, and all that good stuff. So yeah, we really appreciate all your support and everything you do for us. And we just, we thank you ever so much. So we'll let you go. Have a good week. Be safe.
Be weird.
As always, if you have a weird story, we want to hear it.
If you have a lot of them, we want to hear them all.
We can't do this podcast without your invaluable contributions.
Whether it's sharing your stories,
listening,
rating,
and spreading the word about the podcast. Thanks for listening. Until next time, be safe.
Be weird.
The story is presented on the What's Your